Welcome to today's session with Dr. Lisa L. Campbell. Before we dive into today's topic, let's quickly go over a few housekeeping details. Throughout this session, you can send in your questions using the chat feature, and we'll do our best to address them. If you're interested in staying updated on future events, be sure to follow Dr. Campbell on all social media channels using the handle @Dr. Lisa L. Campbell. To contact Dr. Campbell outside of this event, simply scan the QR code that appears on your screen. Without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce our host, Dr. Lisa L. Campbell.
Welcome to tonight's session, our growth session, a conversation about mindful leadership. Our workforce is in a state of emergency. Some will say that it's a side effect of the pandemic. Others will say it was already in progress and the pandemic just exacerbated it. Do I allow my workforce to work from home? Do I have a hybrid model? And then enter in the great resignation, quiet quitting, toxic workplaces, mergers and acquisitions. Individuals are told previously you were on a team of 5. Now there's a team of 3, and the 3 of you will have to do the work of the team of 5. I've spoken with so many individuals that are struggling from a mental perspective due to workplace. One person said to me, work-life balance my foot. I'm working from home. I wake up, I get on the computer. I'm going to bed and I'm just getting off the computer. Yes, I'm at home, but I'm at home as a professional, a highly degreed professional, a highly experienced professional, tied to a computer, tied to meetings that should honestly have been an email. Some individuals are so distraught over today's workplace that they honestly said that they would just rather go on site, work somewhere, do their 40 hours, and leave. So when I think about myself as a leader, and one of the reasons that I wanted to talk about mindful leadership is I always put myself in the perspective of those that I am supposed to lead, empower, transform. I've been told that I'm an authentic leader. I'm a transformational leader. And I think that I have been called those things. I think that I operate in that place because I know what it's like not to be a leader. I know what it's like to be in a situation where I have a direct responsibility for ensuring a non-toxic workplace, where I'm in a position of authority, where I am helping my workforce grow. This is a state of emergency. Let's get into this conversation. I want to bring in my guest. Her name is Dr. Nisa Jenkins, and I think that you are going to love her as much as I do. I've never been in a situation where she's had to manage me, but I've been in a situation where I've watched her manage others, and I see her lead, empower, and transform the lives of others by her calm demeanor, her gentle spirit. And as a healthcare professional, that's been around for a long time, and I'll let her get into that, she definitely exhibits mindful leadership on an ongoing basis. Dr. Jenkins, welcome to our Wednesday growth session. Please tell our listening audience a little bit about your background, and then we'll get into our conversation.
Hello, everyone. Glad to be with you. This is exciting, right? It's exciting to be a part of the Growth Motivator movement. And just a brief overview of my background. Definitely have been in healthcare for a while, started in healthcare before I ever finished high school. And so, wow, it's been about 30 something years that I've been in healthcare. Aside from working in healthcare and then uh, pivoting into education, I also run my own organization, which is I Am Beautiful Too Ministry, in which we cater to women, the voice of a woman, and helping women reach their goals and aspirations in life. So that's just a little bit about me, but I'm looking forward to getting into the conversation and just hopefully helping someone out there who's struggling with some of these topics that we're going to cover tonight, and looking forward to Dr. Campbell's insight and direction as we move through tonight. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And you know what? I think we should see who's in the audience. So, those of you who are listening to us live, please drop in the chat where you are coming from. Please drop in the chat if you have witnessed quiet quitting, if you've witnessed the great resignation, if you've witnessed situations where your workplace was toxic and it was impacting you mentally, drop that in the chat. And as I say each and every week, this is a safe space. And I think sometimes we feel alone in our journey, not realizing we're not the only ones that's going through this. I had a conversation with my husband the other day who talked about the mergers and the acquisitions in non-healthcare space. So today, no industry is exempt from these situations, but I think leaders have to be mindful of how they lead their team. And one of my attributes that I carry with me in every situation that I am working in, I don't want to be the fake leader.
Mhm.
People can tell when their leader is not genuine because they're putting on this facade that they have your best interest at heart. But then you look up and you're like, wait a minute, what happened? So, we talk about work-life balance. We talk about people staying on jobs for 30 years. That's over. I don't think anybody that I know in my immediate circle has been on one job for 30 years.
Mhm.
And so, there's something to be said about that. I've read an article where they talked about people don't quit jobs, they quit their manager. And I think sometimes it's just a little bit of both. So, Dr. Jenkins,
Yes.
based on your experience, what are the benefits of being a mindful leader?
So I think, first of all, just from my definition, when I think of being mindful or mindfulness, I think about being conscious, right? And I'll add the word conscious and connected, right? So you're conscious of what's going on around you. You're conscious of your team. You're conscious of your team's life experiences, and you're also connected to them. And so, in being connected to them, I would say that there is a connecting point, which you can have a awareness of their experience. So you may not have the same experience, but you certainly can connect to them because you know of a situation, or you've experienced it, or you know someone that has, that makes you very conscious of them and then aware. So I think and I say that because when you think about the fact that we can definitely be unconscious and we can be disconnected, right? And so one of the things that comes to mind is, we're in an environment where we do a lot of virtual meetings, or even if you now move to a face-to-face environment, we can be sitting in the same room, but be very unconscious of what's going on around us, right? So we're multitasking, and if we are not moving our hands at the same time, our minds are multitasking and on to the next. And so I think that that's important. And then to be connected. Can I connect? Is there something that's being said that connects me with the team? And perhaps that connection could be because you care about someone. You shared a relational moment in terms of they've talked about their kids, their family, their job, some other life experience that connects you to that person. So I think it's very important that, in that definition of being mindful and aware and connected to your team, you can then arrive at the fact that, yeah, if I have those things, and certainly there are some additional elements that can be considered, but we definitely need to be conscious and connected when we are all together. And leaders have to be, and I think it's a primary responsibility of a leader to be conscious and aware and connected to a team, and that is a big responsibility. So I don't make light of it. Everyone in the room may not have that same level of responsibility, but definitely your leadership does, because they need to know. And a phrase that I've commonly used throughout life is to know who you are working with, know who you're walking with, know who's on your right and who's on your left. And by that I mean, being very well aware of their skills and ability, and also their life experiences, because I think everybody comes to a point when there's some situation in life that can cause you to not perform the same level that you were at one time.
Love it, love it, love it. So I want to pivot just a tad bit, because as you were speaking, all of these terms came to mind. So I know you have a non-for-profit, I Am Beautiful too.
Mhm.
And one of the things I found in particular with working with women leaders is that they often feel like they don't deserve the position. They were given the position, but they don't believe that they deserve it. And so sometimes they self sabotage themselves, honestly, out of that position, or they're miserable. I've spoken to many leaders that are in the car crying before they go in the building. And one lady said to me, I feel so ugly in terms of how I have to carry out the corporate initiatives, checking off a box. And so, what would you say to that woman who, your motto is I am beautiful too? What would you say to them to help them pivot and get back on track and understand, their self worth and why they're in the position that they're in?
Yeah, well, first of all, I think I would have to say is, you have to digress and step back and take a look and assess the situation, assess what your needs are, assess what the needs of the organization are. And I think it's so important. One of the main things that we do when we do accept a job is to make sure that we complement each other. Our job, our abilities, our skill sets complement each other. And if they don't, that can be a decisioning factor. But for that woman, to make sure that as she steps back and assesses the situation, working on yourself is so important, right? That self-care, I can't say it enough. Having supports around you that you can dialogue with to just kind of hash out some things. And for me, I'm definitely having a spiritual life that allows me to, if you will, unveil myself and really just be raw about what my feelings are and what I'm experiencing. And I think that helps you arrive at who you are and what your needs are, because you've got to know that your needs are important as well as other people's. But we have to make sure that we are attending to ourselves. Self-care, I can't say it enough. Self-care is so important, and if we don't take that time to reevaluate ourselves, and I, the number of times you have to do that is really up to the individual, but I definitely think it needs to happen at least once or twice a month, where we're just reevaluating. Are we on track? Are we meeting our goals? Is the organization meeting our goals, and things like that? Because I will definitely admit there was a time when I initially started I Am Beautiful too, and I just felt like I was tapped out. So my kids at the time were much younger, and I was just trying to do so much. So I had to step back, not do as much as I wanted to do with I Am Beautiful too, because I felt like my kids needed me. So I was so torn between being busy doing I Am Beautiful 2 stuff and not being in the home when my kids needed me and we moved to a new place, etc. So, I had to definitely assess the situation so that I could then make sure that I'm taking care of me. And I could honestly say that took several years. It didn't happen overnight. Because again, I felt like my kids needed me in the home. They needed to know that I was well aware and conscious of what their needs were, and moving to a new location, etc. So I just think you really have to step back and assess the situation and perhaps make a list of what your needs are. And then, kind of like you said, Dr. Campbell, just kind of checking off some things. Yeah, it does meet my needs. No, it doesn't. And then perhaps if it doesn't, if the don'ts outweigh the do's, then I definitely would be looking to make some transitions if that's possible.
So, what you just said is so powerful, and I'm going to summarize it in my own words. One aspect, you got to get comfortable being uncomfortable, because that's where you can make some decisions, make some moves that will really benefit you in the long run. I think that oftentimes fear is what holds us back. And once you spend some time with you, that self-care is so important. One of the things that I've been conscious about is practicing mindfulness,
Mhm.
taking more time for me. I owe me. I owe me so that I can be the best version of me for my family and those that I serve. Because if I don't, it's not good for either of us, right? So taking that time to unplug, refuel is so important. This past weekend, I had an opportunity to sit in my backyard in a gazebo, literally for like 8 hours and till like 3 o'clock in the morning. And anybody knows me, they know I like to go to bed between that 9, 10 o'clock hour. So just being up with friends, family, laughing uncontrollably actually gave me something that I didn't even realize I needed at that time. And so then what happened Sunday and Monday, I came out swinging in terms of the things that I wanted to accomplish this week. And I think if I didn't give myself that time, that space to relax, release, relate, recharge, I would not be able to go through the rest of the week like I had the ability to do so. So it really expanded my bandwidth for the week because I felt like a gerbil on a wheel, and it kind of level set me and put me in a place where my mind was clear. And no matter what happens, I'm able to rationally move forward with whatever I got going on.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. I like that. I think, what comes to mind for me is that, the Bible says that laughter is good for the soul. And it is incredibly good for the soul because just like you expressed, you were able to come out, fighting and doing what you needed to do, checking the boxes, checking off things off your list and getting things done. And I think we just need to take time to, if it is that you haven't laughed in a while, and just taking some time for you to enjoy family, friends, and just kind of sitting around and not feeling overwhelmed because there's so many tasks on the list. I think that's so important.
Absolutely. So I got another question for you.
Mhm.
And I know our listening audience is going to want to hear about this. I definitely will chime in if I need to. But because of the environment that we're in today, pandemic, recession, so eggs are like $10 a gallon or $10 a dozen. What do you personally do to overcome challenges? And I know you're going to say you pray,
Yeah.
but there may be some folks in our listening audience that, prayer is not for them. But what would you say to someone that is struggling to overcome the challenges that just keep coming towards them and they feel like it's knocking the wind out of them?
Yeah. Yeah, I think one of the things, in addition to definitely praying, but the thing I want to say about prayer is that oftentimes women don't typically pray for themselves. They pray for everybody else. So I just want to say that. But second of all, I think that the main thing is to have some good supports around you. I just cannot say that enough because I am a person who um, doesn't have to have a lot of people around me, but I had to really learn how to allow people to support me, right? To support me, to be there for me, to listen to me. And they are people who are closest to me, and they're not very many in number of those folks, but finding that support that you can lean on, that you can let your hair down and let them know, hey, I am just not mentally there today. I need to be able to talk. I need to be able to hash this out, and having those supports around you, which you can find pretty much anywhere. In fact, I'll share this quick example of a support today. I happened to be coming out of the gym for a workout, and there was an older gentleman in the parking lot, and he was walking his car, I was walking in mine, and he just started talking, and we started sharing and just talking, and I was like, wow, I really felt just encouraged. Some of the things that he said that I certainly hadn't shared with him, we just kind of had a dialogue, and it really helped me move forward in some things that I was thinking about, and just experiencing. So support doesn't have to be someone you know so well, is all I'm saying. It can be a stranger, but you've got to be open to be able to hear. You got to be, again, conscious and aware of the experience that you are having. So I think that that's just very important to me, is those supports, and having those around you, being able to also journal. I still journal every now and then. I used to journal daily. I have at least 20 books or journals that I've filled up over the years, but I think that's important because it gives us the opportunity to write down our feelings, our thoughts, and then go back and read them over, and then be able to move forward because we've gotten them out. We've expressed them in written format, I think that helpful as well. If I had, to mention a couple of strategies, certainly there are others, but definitely supports and being able to journal and write down. And the other thing I want to say is that when I am journaling, I don't always write down a whole bunch, right? Sometimes it can just be like one word. And I write that word and I circle it, and then I know what it means to me. But so I just want to say it doesn't have to be overwhelming that you're writing a whole lot, because some people just don't feel like they have that much time to sit and do it. But you definitely can write words, you write specific phrases, etc., that will help you kind of express some of those things that you need to get down on paper.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So, as you know, my new book, Grow With Me, is
Yes.
dropping August 5th. It's in the pre-sale phase at this time. And when I got to the last chapter, I said, "Oh, you got to put a journal with this." And it hit me because I like to journal. I believe it's so important to release what I'm feeling.
Mhm.
And some people think, well, journaling it's a woman thing, right? No, it's a people thing. You
Yeah.
need to get some of those things, all of those things out of your head so that you can release them and move forward. Sometimes, and I'm just going to be real, transparent here. Sometimes I write and cry. Sometimes I write, cry, pray, scream,
Mhm.
right? Pray, scream, eat, because I need to release that weight that's like holding me hostage and is preventing me from going forward. A
Yeah.
lot of you have probably heard me say this over and over and over again. And I'm just going to say it because it's important to hear. Now is the time for you to shed the weight that is holding you hostage because it's eating you up inside. And if you ask those that are in your inner circle, if you got weight that's holding you down, I guarantee you that they can tell you exactly what that weight is as confirmation, because sometimes you're afraid to admit certain weight is holding you down. I remember, and this was literally like 2005. I was working a job where I was a program director, and I was responsible for 3 separate programs. I was the only full-time member, working on the 3 programs. I was stressed out. I got the programs accredited, and I literally was 30 years old. My mom said to me, "It's time for you to go. You look horrible. You're carrying all of this internally, externally, and it's making you sick."
Mhm.
And as I reflect on that today, that piece of advice that my mother gave me was valuable. To your second point about having that community, because I remember, let's say 8 years before that, I tried to commit suicide because I was carrying that weight that
Mhm.
was holding me hostage. And I know that there's probably some folks that are in here today, listening to us live, that's probably thinking, "Ooh, that's me." You've got to shed that weight. And trust me, when you get on the other side of the weight that you dropped, you will feel like $1,000,000. I remember going through a weight loss journey, and I was always confident, right? But losing that physical weight was powerful. Well, guess what? Losing mental weight, shedding the people and the things that don't mean you any good, when you shed them, you're gonna walk away as a new you, looking like you just won the lottery, and all you did was get rid of some dead weight that was just weighing down on you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I like that, Lisa. I think it's so important that we, in that evaluation or assessment process that we do, like I mentioned, doing that, 2 times a month or more. It depends on the individual, but I think that that helps us take a look at the things that we need to let go of, and there's so many things that we need to let go of. And if we don't, you're right, it can actually be physically debilitating for us. And sometimes we don't have the option. I want to talk about the folks who feel like they don't have that option, and perhaps they just can't do that right now. And the steps that you can take are some of those steps we talked about: having that community of support, having the opportunity to journal. And yes, for men and women, everybody should have a community of support. Everybody should be journaling, at least, like I said, to the minimum. Um, and also being able to exercise and release some of the tension and stress that life brings on, because as you mentioned earlier, Dr. Campbell, I think that we have to really be consciously aware of the fact that COVID, the pandemic, it just really made some changes in our lives that we will never be able to go back to. So I think that it's important that we take good care of ourselves. And the thing that I share with those closest to me, exercise doesn't have to be an intense workout every day, but it can be a walk to the mailbox, or a walk down the street, or perhaps time out with grandkids, or time with kids, just running, just a little more movement than you had been doing. And I think that it's always progressive, right? So I just think that that's important. It helps you to feel better, to be able to think better. I know for me, I think better, and that's really helpful. So, I encourage you to do that. I just don't want everybody to think, when you say you're going to do exercise program, that is going to be something that's so overwhelming. But definitely just doing a little bit more each day. If it's something you don't normally do, like maybe you don't normally take garbage out or walk to the garbage can, it can be a little bit at a time. It doesn't have to be an overwhelming amount of exercise that you get to start to de-stress and decompress.
I love it. Well, Dr. Jenkins, our 30 minutes is almost up. I believe in these being 30 minutes and under. So we got like a minute left.
Mhm.
Please tell our listening viewing audience, how they can get in touch with you at I Am Beautiful Too, like your website, just drop the ways that they can get in touch with you, because I'm pretty sure that there are many individuals that need to know they are beautiful too.
Yes, so sure. For my website, which is www.iambeautiful2, that's TOO ministry.org. And you can definitely email me at iamb2ministry@gmail.com. So those are two ways that I definitely check and monitor that you can get in touch with me and reach out and share any thoughts, comments, suggestions that you might have, just things that you might want to just, weigh in, get somebody else to weigh in on and give you some thoughts. Willing to do that. So again, you can email me at iamb2ministry@gmail.com or reach me at www.iambeautiful2ministry.org.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I believe we'll probably see you back in a couple of weeks. When I gave the call for guests, when I realized that, whew, this was a heavy undertaking for me to do this by myself every week, I reached out to my community, and many of my professional friends have answered the call. So I'm so excited to bring these 30-minute growth moments to you. It has been a pleasure with tonight's session on mindful leadership, and we will see you very, very soon.
We would like to express sincerest appreciation to each one of you for joining us today. If you have any further questions or would like to connect with Dr. Campbell, please take a moment to scan the QR code on your screen. On behalf of Dr. Lisa L. Campbell and the entire team, we want to thank you once again for your participation. We hope you found today's event valuable and wish you a wonderful rest of your day.